You can still buy a house in America for under $10,000. I'm not talking about a shed, not a fixer-upper, with potential. An actual house with walls and a roof, and sometimes even plumbing that works, while everyone's out here getting crushed by $3,000 rent payments and mortgage rates that look like phone numbers. There are towns across America quietly offering homes so cheap it feels like a glitch in the matrix. But here's what nobody tells you: there's always a catch. Always. Sometimes it's a forgotten coal town that somehow has faster internet than Los Angeles. Other times, it's a lakeside gem where your biggest concern is whether the bears respect property lines. We're diving into 10 towns where home prices make 0 cents, and every single one comes with a wait. What? Moment you didn't see coming. One town on this list has a median home price lower than a used Honda Civic. Another one literally gives away houses if you promise not to leave. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll either be packing your bags or questioning why anyone pays 6 figures for a closet in Brooklyn. Hit that like button so the algorithm thinks I'm important. Subscribe, because one day you're going to want to escape, and this channel is basically your break glass in case of boring life kit. This isn't surface-level real estate porn. This is the stuff most people miss: the weird, the wild, and the oddly affordable. Let's get into it. Number 10. Flint, Michigan. Flint is one of the few places in America where homes are cheaper than college textbooks. And yes, you've definitely heard of it, just probably not in a tourism brochure. Flint is infamous. You say the name and people immediately think water crisis. And look, that's fair. But here's what the headlines won't tell you. The city is quietly rebuilding, and housing is so affordable it genuinely feels fake. Median home price, $69,000. Not a typo. Cost of living, 27% below the national average. Rent hovers around $700 a month. The job market leans heavily into healthcare, education, and city contracts, so don't expect Silicon Valley energy. But if you're looking for dirt-cheap real estate with actual potential, Flint is low-key becoming a thing. Crime? Yeah, we need to talk about it. Violent crime is 4 times the national average. Property crime is also through the roof. We're talking top 10 in the US, 4 cities where you definitely want a Ring doorbell and maybe a German Shepherd named Bruce. But here's the twist nobody mentions. Parts of Flint are getting weirdly cool. Artists, developers, and yes, actual hipsters are moving into renovated buildings downtown. There's a Flint mural tour now, a surprisingly solid coffee scene, and a sense of community that's been forged through literal survival. So what's the deal? You can snag a whole house for less than a Tesla down payment, but you're also signing up for citywide trust issues, outdated infrastructure, and being the punchline of every national news joke since 2014. You save a ton, but you also inherit the ghosts of 2008 and possibly a feral cat colony in the alley. Flint is the only place I've ever seen a coffee shop, a boarded-up liquor store, and a bail bonds billboard all on the same block. And don't even get me started on the potholes. These aren't potholes, they're portals. I hit one so deep, I thought I was going to end up in Detroit wearing 2003. Also, some streets still don't have working streetlights. It's like Mad Max, Rust Belt Edition. You're not driving home, you're navigating by vibes and prayer. But imagine this. You walk out your front door onto a quiet, tree-lined street. You hear a lawnmower, smell someone grilling kielbasa 2 houses down. Your home cost less than your cousin's Prius, and your mortgage payment is the same as her Spotify family plan. It's peaceful till your neighbor's pit bull decides to freestyle bark at absolutely nothing again. Flint has more murals than working public fountains. And somehow that's not even a joke. Would you live in a city that's turning a comeback story into real estate gold? Or is that still too risky? Drop Flint future or Flint nope in the comments. Flint's not for the soft. If you're tough, scrappy, and like cheap property with a side of grit, It's a gold mine in disguise. And if you think Flint's a gamble, the next town makes real estate feel like a game of truth or dare, but mostly dare. Number 9. Detroit, Michigan. In Detroit, you can literally buy a house for $1. Yes, a real home. For less than the price of a bottle of Fiji water. Detroit, the Motor City. Once the global hub of horsepower and assembly lines, now a place where entire blocks are priced like vending machine snacks. But underneath those ghost town headlines, there's a pulse. A weird, gritty, defiant pulse. Median home price sits around $66,000. Cost of living is nearly 30% below the national average. Rent runs about $950 a month for a decent 2-bedroom. Crime, still rough. One of the highest violent crime rates in the country. No sugarcoating that. But the upside? Major investment in tech, mobility, and real estate, especially downtown. Detroit's not dead. It's just on its 3rd reboot, like a gritty Netflix series that keeps changing lead actors. Downtown has seen a huge facelift. Tech startups, trendy lofts, boutique coffee shops with names like Clutch and Grind. But 2 blocks over, you're in Fallout 4. It's that kind of contrast. A local on Reddit said it best. Detroit's like dating someone who's in therapy. They're not okay, but they're working on it. The emotional math here is wild. You get a backyard, garage, basement freedom, but you might also need bars on your windows and a second backup generator. You'll feel rich on paper until your Wi-Fi goes out because someone stole copper from the pole again. But here's the thing. If you're bold, scrappy, or just don't care what your in-laws think, Detroit could be the hustle capital of your dreams. Can we talk about Detroit roads for a second? It's like the city was designed by someone playing whack-a-mole with a jackhammer. You're not driving your Dodge rolling between potholes. I saw a Prius disappear into one. Gone, vanished. If you ever wondered where Atlantis went, check I-94 during spring thaw. Picture this. You buy a home for $5,000, paint it up, plant tomatoes in the backyard. The air smells like old records and grilled kielbasa. You ride your bike past murals, Motown blasting in your earbuds. You feel like a pioneer till you get chased by a raccoon the size of a bulldog. Detroit will break your heart and fix it in the same week. Just don't ask it to plow the street. Detroit homes are cheaper than RVs in Arizona. But you'll need an urban survival guide and possibly a tetanus booster. Number 8. Harlingen, Texas. You can rent a full 3-bedroom house in Harlingen for less than a studio apartment in Tulsa. Yeah, Tulsa. Let that sink in. Harlingen sits deep in the Rio Grande Valley, practically neighbors with Mexico. On the surface, it's palm trees, perpetual sun, and prices that make real estate agents in LA burst into tears. This place regularly ranks among the cheapest cities in America to live. Median home price, around $136,000. That's less than most down payments elsewhere. Plus, no state income tax, low property taxes, and tacos on every corner. So why isn't everyone moving here? Well, because cheap always comes with fine print. Crime's higher than average, 35% more than national rates, with theft and car break-ins topping the charts. The job market isn't exactly booming. Unemployment rates dance above the national average. And as one Reddit user brutally put it, living in Harlingen is like time traveling to 1998, except the Blockbuster still closed. Housing's cheap, yes, but salaries often match the price tag and the summer heat. Let's just say your air conditioner becomes a family member. You name it, you talk to it. You apologize when you forget to change its filter. So what's the emotional cost of affordability? You'll save money, sure. But you might also spend your evenings triple-checking your car locks or wondering if the nearest shopping mall is just $1. Tree next to a vape shop. And don't even get me started on the drivers. I swear, every other car in Harlingen either has no turn signal or it's permanently stuck on. People will signal left, then go straight, and no one blinks. I once saw someone make a U-turn into a Taco Bell drive-thru in reverse. At this point, traffic laws in Harlingen feel more like gentle suggestions, kind of like putting the toilet seat down. Picture it. You step outside to warm sunrise, birds chirping, the smell of breakfast tacos in the air, then immediately dodge a rogue shopping cart rolling across the Ruby parking lot. Welcome to Harlingen. Number 7. Bay City, Michigan in Bay City. You can buy a house for under $95,000, and depending on the wind, it may or may not smell like Cheerios or wet carpet. Welcome to the Midwest, baby. Bay City is that underrated cousin in the Great Lakes family. Not flashy like Traverse City, not troubled like Flint. Just there vibing with boats, breweries, and a suspicious number of antique shops. It's a waterfront town on Lake Huron's Saginaw Bay. You get riverwalk strolls, charming bridges, and summer festivals where someone is definitely selling kettle corn out of a vintage camper. Cost of living nearly 24% below the national average. Median home price around $93,000. Rent hovering at $700 to $800 a month, depending on whether you want to see water or weeds from your window. But there's always a but. Bay City's got quirks. The job market is, well, modest. Most gigs revolve around manufacturing, schools, or healthcare. And let's just say the remote work scene hasn't quite landed yet. Crime, a little spicier than you'd expect. Bay City's crime index ranks at 17 out of 100, which means it's safer than just 17% of U.S. cities. Translation: lock your bike and your mailbox. As one local very accurately posted, living in Bay City is like dating someone who's sweet until they've had one too many natty lights. You move here for the prices, stay for the lake breeze, and learn to tolerate the fact that Michigan weather has 3 moods: too cold, slightly less cold, and weirdly humid for no reason. You'll save money, but spend time Googling how to winterize everything I own, including myself. Let's talk about Michigan weather for a sec. Bay City has this magical ability to snow in April and thunderstorm in January, all while your neighbors still barbecuing like nothing's happening, and the roads. Potholes big enough to swallow an entire Subaru. Driving here feels like a Mario Kart track, but with more swerving and less fun music. Honestly, I'm convinced Bay City has 2 seasons: construction and hope. Imagine stepping outside lake air in your lungs, a seagull judging you from a lamppost, and distant polka music from the summer beer fest. You grab a pasty from a food truck, watch a pontoon cruise by, then step in a puddle that's been frozen since March. Welcome to Bay City. And fun fact, Bay City is Madonna's hometown. Yep, even the Queen of Pop got her start somewhere with frozen sidewalks and bargain real estate. Would you live in a lakeside town where you can buy a house for the price of a used Tesla battery? Comment, sail away, or hard pass. Bay City's cool. Just don't get excited about warm weather until after the 4th of July. And even then, bring a hoodie. Number 6. McAllen. Texas. You can get a house in McAllen for under $100,000 and still have enough left over to start a taco truck empire. McAllen isn't just where your grandma winters, it's where your money multiplies. Located along the U.S.-Mexico border, this sun-soaked city might just be America's most affordable small city with Wi-Fi. Median home price, around $98,000. Cost of living roughly 22% below the national average. Rent for a 2-bedroom, about $850. Meg, the price of brunch in LA. Crime rate, surprisingly low for a border city. And yes, they've got Target. Calm down. But then here's the thing. McAllen has this weird duality. On one hand, it's got palm trees, high walkability, and some of the best healthcare infrastructure in the state. On the other, the economy's been described as stable-ish, like your cousin who still drives for DoorDash, but swears he's investing in crypto. From Reddit, living in McAllen is like being in Texas without the ego. People say hi. It's almost unsettling. Sure, you'll save money, but you might also sweat through 7 shirts before noon. And let's not talk about the mosquitoes, lest you're into therapy. What nobody tells you is McAllen isn't just cheap. It's peaceful. Too peaceful. Like Hallmark movie set meets Texas humidity. Peaceful. Okay, McAllen, weather. It's like the sun took it personally. You don't walk to your car, you sprint, hoping the soles of your shoes don't melt. AC units basically go to war for you daily. And the humidity. Let's just say if you don't own a dehumidifier here, you're just drinking your air. Picture this, a sleepy afternoon. You're rocking in a front porch chair. It's 5 p.m. The Tamalera truck just honked down the block. The air smells like lime and tortillas. And you just paid off your house in cash. That's McAllen.com. Slow, oddly wholesome. McAllen is so affordable, even your ex could start over here. Number 5. Decatur. Illinois. Decatur is the kind of town where you can buy a 3-bedroom house for under $90,000 and still have enough left over for a year's supply of Febreze. And yes, there's a reason for that. Welcome to Decatur, Illinois. Home to about 68,000 people, a sea of cornfields, and an uncanny obsession with soybeans. No, really. It's nicknamed the soybean capital of the world. This place has more processing plants than Starbucks cups in LA housing. Median price is around $93,000. Cost of living is 26% lower than the national average. Rent hovers below $800. Sounds like a dream, right? But then it turns out dreams in Decatur come with a faint industrial odor and a crime rate that makes you double-check your car doors even at church. Decatur's violent crime rate is 54% higher than the U.S. average. And while the job market leans heavily into manufacturing and agriculture, it's not exactly a magnet for fresh tech grads or digital nomads. And as one brutally honest Redditor put it, it's affordable, sure. Just don't open your windows when a DM's cooking. So here's what it really means to live here. Your mortgage. Laughably low. Your air quality. Dubiously high in hints of corn syrup. Social scene. Well, let's just say if you're under 40, you might be hanging with retirees at the local VFW on a Friday night. Look, Decatur drivers treat stop signs like polite suggestions. I saw a guy roll through a four-way with a coffee in one hand and a chicken biscuit in the other, like he was auditioning for a farm-to-table NASCAR league. Also, can we talk about the weather? It's either too humid to function or so windy you're chasing your garbage can into Indiana. Picture this. It's 6 a.m., factory steam fogs up the sunrise. You grab hot gas station coffee, pass a grain silo on the way to work, and wave at your neighbor who's been shoveling soybeans off his porch since 1987. Decatur isn't trying to impress you. It's just existing proudly. Would you live in a place where your house smells like soy sauce 3 times a week? Yes or no? Let the comments fight it out. I've lived in Decatur my whole life. It's quiet, it's cheap, and it always smells like we're about to make soup. Number 4. Mission, Texas. In Mission, Texas, you can buy a house for under $100,000 and still have money left over for a lifetime supply of bug spray. Welcome to the tropics of Texas, where it's hot, cheap, and suspiciously quiet after 10 p.m. Mission sits deep in the Rio Grande Valley, a border town with Tex-Mex culture, palm trees, and sunsets that could land a Netflix beer wall gig. It's laid back, vibrant, and wildly affordable. Median home price. Around $98,000. Cost of living 24% below the U.S. average. Rent. $750 or less gets you a 2-bedroom with a C. And trust me, you'll need it. Population about 85,000 and growing steadily thanks to retirees, remote workers, and folks who love sunshine and spicy food. Sounds like a budget-friendly paradise, right? But here's what nobody tells you. Yes, it's cheap. But it's also hot. Like Carrie Ann's True Shirt hot. Nearly 200 days of sunshine a year with triple-digit summers that could melt your shadow. Job market. Mostly agriculture, healthcare, and seasonal retail. Mission's median income sits around $50,000, which is manageable given the cost of living, But don't expect a booming tech hub here. Crime is below national average until you realize border town politics and drug war media headlines skew perception. Locals say it's safer than it looks on paper. A Redditor once described it perfectly. It's like living in a taco commercial with a heat advisory. Here's the trade-off. You get year-round sun, a slow pace, and housing so affordable it feels like time travel. But you also get mosquitoes the size of hummingbirds and a calendar that basically skips winter altogether. Also, good luck finding nightlife that goes past 10 p.m., unless you count the H-E-B parking lot at midnight. And yes, someone will be doing burnouts in a Dodge Charger. The drivers in Mission have two speeds: casual cruise and fast and furious. Border Edition. I once saw a guy reverse into a Whataburger spot at Mach 3. And don't even try ordering coffee past 4 p.m. Your only option is a lukewarm gas station brew that tastes like sadness and old tires. Also, fire ants. Everywhere. It's like nature's way of reminding you who's really in charge. Picture it. You step outside to golden sunlight, mariachi music drifting from a backyard party, and the smell of grilled fajitas in the air. You wave to your neighbor who's already sweating through his third shirt of the day. Paradise depends on your AC bill. Could you handle 100-degree heat year-round if it meant never paying over $100,000 for a house again? Comment, I'm in, or I'll stay cold. Number 3. Eagle Pass, Texas. In Eagle Pass, Texas, you can buy a house for under $90,000 and watch Mexico from your porch. No, really, it's right there. Eagle Pass is a border town that feels like a Texas fever dream. Ranch-style houses, 100-degree heat, H-E-B grocery stores with more salsa varieties than you thought existed. Life moves slowly, neighbors actually wave, and the culture is a flavorful mix of Texan pride and Mexican heritage. Median home price: just around $89,000. Rent runs $650 to $750. For a two-bedroom life, you're okay with the occasional mariachi concert next door. Cost of living 23% below the national average. Population a surprisingly solid 30,000 plus, with a Walmart supercenter and 3 Whataburgers to prove it. But don't let the affordability fool you. Eagle Pass sits right on the U.S.-Mexico border. It's beautiful land, also in the middle of every cable news panic montage since 2016. Still, crime is not nearly as bad as you'd think. The crime rate is actually lower than in Austin and way lower than in places like St. Louis or Baltimore. In fact, a 2023 report showed Eagle Pass ranks safer than 60% of U.S. cities its size. So yeah, perception is not reality. One local summed it up perfectly. Everyone thinks we're in danger, but the only real threat is forgetting your sunscreen. You get heat, you get border culture, you get dirt-cheap housing, but you also get weird stares when you tell people where you live. The emotional trade-off. You might spend less, but you'll spend a lot more time explaining to your relatives that Eagle Pass is not the set of a post-apocalyptic Netflix series. Okay, let's talk about the drivers in Eagle Pass. I saw a guy do a 3-point turn in the middle of a Dairy Queen drive-thru. And the best part? No one even honked. Also, can we normalize air conditioning outside? 'Cause in Eagle Pass, your car turns into a microwave every afternoon. You leave a phone on the dash, you're basically baking it at 350 degrees. Imagine waking up to the smell of breakfast tacos, warm wind off the Rio Grande, and the sound of cumbia playing faintly in the distance. You step outside dusty boots, sunglasses on, and the whole town feels like a Western with Wi-Fi. It's quiet, colorful, and costs less than your last vacation. Eagle Pass is safer than most big cities. Yet people panic when you say border town. Meanwhile, San Francisco's got $1.3 million homes and smash hand grabs. Go figure. Would you live on the border if it meant owning a house for under $90,000? Comment, see, poor, favor, or nah. I'll freeze in Michigan. Eagle Pass is peaceful, cheap, and real. Just don't complain about the heat. We'll laugh at you in Spanish. Number 2. Weirton, West Virginia. In Weirton, West Virginia, the average home costs less than a new Toyota Camry and comes with more steel history than your uncle's conspiracy blog. Weirton used to be the kind of town where steel flowed like coffee and high school football was basically religion. Nestled on the Ohio River, it's technically part of the Pittsburgh Metro. But don't tell the locals that. They will fight you. The town still has a nostalgic, blue-collar, charm-local, diners, porch culture, and streets that feel frozen in a sepia-toned postcard from 1963. Median home price, around $112,000, seems like a steal, right? But then the steal dried up. Weirton's economy took a hit in the 80s that it's still recovering from. Job growth flatlined, harder than your favorite childhood cartoon. The population's been slowly declining for decades, and about 18% of residents are over 65, which is great if you love bingo. Not so much if you're looking for a startup scene. One Redditor wrote, "Weirton, where time stands still. And so does the Wi-Fi. Crime's relatively low, but wages are too. The median household income is around $45,000. And that's if you're lucky enough to be working full-time. So what do you really get? A town that feels quiet, safe, and nostalgic until you realize your biggest Friday night thrill might be a Sheetz run and half-off mozzarella sticks. The price tag is sweet, but the social energy? Let's just say you better bring your own party. Weirton is the kind of place where GPS still gets confused and tells you to turn left into 1947. I saw 3 barber shops, 2 bowling alleys, and not a single Starbucks. Not one. You want fancy coffee. Your options are gas station cappuccino or make peace with black drip. Also, why does every parking lot have one random shopping cart and 0 stores around? Imagine stepping outside to the distant hum of cicadas, a neighbor waving from a 1978 lawn chair, and the smell of charcoal and mothballs. It's peaceful, sure, until you need fast internet and end up Googling DSL alternatives that don't suck. Number 1. St. Louis, Missouri. In St. Louis, you can buy a house for $60,000, but it might come with a free bullet hole and a neighbor named Sketchy Steve. St. Louis is a city of contrasts. Gateway Arch, blues music, baseball, toasted ravioli, and also some of the lowest housing prices in any major U.S. metro. Median home price, around $110,000. Yes, really. Average rent, about $925 a month. Its cost of living 18% below the national average. Job market. Surprisingly solid in healthcare, education, and aerospace. Violent crime rate. 420% higher than national average in some neighborhoods. Yeah, not a typo. St. Louis has neighborhoods that feel like Brooklyn and others that feel like a post-apocalyptic video game. It's not just the wrong side of the tracks. In some areas, the whole track is wrong. Still, there's an artsy, resilient energy here. Food scene. Wildly underrated. Architecture. It's beautiful old brick homes from the 1800s if they haven't collapsed yet. A local once said on Reddit, in STL, the house might be $70,000. But your Ring camera better be $300. Here's the deal. You can save a ton living in St. Louis, but you have to do your homework. Buy in the wrong zip code, and you're signing up for sirens, smashed windows, and lawn chairs permanently fused to front porches. Buy in the right neighborhood. You're laughing all the way to the bank. Sipping $3 craft beer on your private porch with equity building faster than your Amazon packages disappear. Let's talk about the drivers in St. Louis. I've seen people make left turns from the right lane while texting. Yellow lights. More like suggestions. And don't even try to park downtown unless you're okay with creative bumpers and a parking meter. That only takes quarters from 1996. Imagine sitting on your front steps at sunset. The brick is worn and warm behind your back. Cicadas hum in the air. A Cardinals game echoes faintly from a neighbor's radio. You've got a $90,000 house, a decent job, and enough leftover cash to finally not share Netflix passwords until a fireworks show on a Tuesday goes off 2 blocks away. St. Louis has cheaper homes than Des Moines, but 3 times the chances your porch furniture gets stolen. Would you risk high crime for low rent and killer barbecue? Drop Arch Life or hard pass in the comments. So there you have it. It's 10 towns across America where you can buy a house for less than the price of a decent used car. Some are gritty, some are quiet, some smell like soybeans, and one literally offers dollar homes. Are they perfect? No. Are they cheap? Absolutely. And for a lot of people, that's enough. The truth is, affordable housing still exists in America. You just have to be willing to trade convenience for cost. You trade nightlife for neighbors. You trade trendy coffee shops for front porch conversations. You trade Instagram-worthy views for actual equity. And honestly, for some of us, that's the dream. If you made it this far, drop a comment with which town you'd actually consider moving to. Or tell me I'm insane. Either way, I'll read it.